Hello, my 90s. Now, if you watch one of my um last videos, you would know that I made a story named Grey Lord Newath, and right now I'm working on even more of those. So keep in tune for, millions of story readings, cause that's gonna be a big part of my channel. Um, so oh yeah, first, if I sound different, that's because I got a new tablet, and also I'm just older. Like, how old am I? I don't know. Okay, time to go to the reading. Today we're gonna be reading Ron's Chasm, a story about a deity in a game ideal I have. Anyways, to the reading. Prologue. Prologue. There was there was a well-known nameless deity that was nameless due to him never telling his name to men. But we'll get to that later. One day the nameless one had two or maybe a third or fourth child, two of which are brothers of dark light and light dark, the brothers Ron and Reen. But today we're not talking about both, we're talking about the history of the son of dark light, the holy brother Ron. Child life. Ron lived in his father's holy land and spent time with his siblings there. Rumors of two more. There's rumors of two more, but we only know Ron spent most time mostly with his brother. Ron always liked playing with his brother. Their father was admirable and knew powerful magic. Their father was a deity of four types of magic: Chasmus magic, pale magic, dragon magic, and moon magic. He teach these all to his two or four children. Oh, almost woke up. Um, his father first expected Ran to learn pale magic the easiest, due to his pure mind, and for Rin to learn the dark chasmus magic. But their father never expected both of them to mix them up in their own way. Ran, on one hand, learned the mixture of mostly chasmus and the rest pale, whilst the other hand, Rin, learned mostly pale and a bit of chasmus. So in other words, Ran had dark holy magic and Reen had holy dark magic. Yeah, dark holy. Um, Ran had dark holy magic as Reen had holy dark magic. The two brothers play fighted each other with their newfound abilities. For years on years they trained and trained, Rainy becoming a surprisingly calm holy magic dark user. As well, Ran wasn't so lucky. The accident. One day, while both Rainy and Ron were training while their father were watching them both spar with full strength, one of Reen's attacks will hurt Ron so badly that he was trapped on the earth's ground. It was the chasmus, which is a giant distorted orb with lots of red spots as if blood and pieces of red flesh swirling around the black orb. Once it struck Ron, it sent him to the ground, as they both were deities, so they could fly with golden rings or just magic. As Ron struck the ground surrounded him with the infectious red corruption known as chasmus. The crash distorted the land around him into a light red chasm, well, more of a crater. This later was found by men and was named after the deity who was stuck to its infectious core. I hate all this. The Great Ron's Red Chasm. Ron's Chasm. The search and finding of Ron. After the chasm orb that hit Ron sent him flying, the nameless deity and his son Rennie went searching for Ron. It took years until they noticed a peculiar land in the middle of a split mountain that had a road leading to a large castle and even more behind the castle. And in front, well, most would likely enter, there was large land, so the chasm separated the two lands. So the deities thought it was a peculiar red chasm and went to check. They hovered over the chasm's back, or the roadblock that blocked the way to the castle. The two were surprised to see the bulky shape of Ron tangled in the chasm's red course. For some reason, he looked insane and more bulky. The deities went to investigate, and to their horror, Ron lashed out with unexpectedly a great sword, slashing at his brother, supposedly leaving him there to die. That what Rennie first thought, and then his dad told him a quick explanation about how chasm equals red goo and red goo equals losing your sanity. Ron did swing his sword in an unreadable way, and his screeches were terrifying. It made Rennie feel guilty about using Casimir's powers on his brother. But Rennie had to reluctantly trap his brother back in his red corrupted chasm. But before he could do it, humans clashed in armor, ran into the chasm circle, where Ron resides. They for some reason attacked Ron, but were instantly slain, and Ron took the trespasser's body and stabbed himself in the back with a bone spine, covering it with blood and flesh, and going to each man and impaling them. That's when Rennie noticed he was sharing blood with them. The men seemed to scream and shake, even though they're dead. Their skin started tearing from the inside, and a hairy beast tore itself from its man skin, which human skin, you know. And a hairy I don't even somewhere similar from its man skin, somewhere similar and somewhere unique. Oh, some were similar and some were unique. From what Winnie looked at there was a bipedal deer or moose skeleton covered in organs and skin, colored tears of flesh hair. One was a werewolf, but it was basically a giant black wolf. And the last unique one was a skeleton serpent-like worm that burrowed under the bloody ground. These three types of nightmare fuel attacked Rennie, and so did his brother. So Rennie had to fly up in the air, expecting a last fight against his brother. But his brother couldn't fly anymore. He could only jump and try to fly, but the golden wings that appear on his back can only flap a few times as they were covered by Casimir's material. But while Rennie watched his brother flying around, he didn't notice his brother hold out his hand and make a fist, enclosing his brother in a weird pale blood. Next thing Rennie noticed, he was in a pale void, with a dark void in front of him that looked foggy. Oh yeah, for your brain references, just imagine the last area of Dark Souls in the first game before the last boss is boss arena. You know, that weird white arena with weird black fog. Just imagine that. Challengers of Ron. Civilizations. When challenged, the great chasm's lord Ran. These were given a title, the challengers of Ran. These challengers march into the chasm separating the two lands with one goal: defeat Ran and join the Upper Kingdom. But they all were met with similar fates: lost to insanity, consumed by the chasm, or the worst of all, defeated and added to the warriors of Ran. You see, Ran has a certain power with the chasm eternally biting him. He uses whoever trespasses and is killed by him. He turns him either into beast or the bloody blobs known as the Crusade. These Crusade are everywhere, spreading the chasm's infection. The first ever Crusade and Great Beast, which is a chasm beast but special, which is like one of the creatures, nightmare fields, which is a chasm beast but special, was the son of Ran and a special friend. His son was Red Dragon, the first great beast, who now stands in the Iza wastelands watching the corruption of his father. No one knows him as Red Dragon. Everyone calls him the Dark Red Beast, as he is the most bloodthirsty and red beast to ever exist currently. And even if you did defeat him, in Isa, he lives. He's somewhere far beyond his father's chasm, looking for someone. And then his friend, a man who vowed to guard the chasm, but the more he guards, the more he becomes insane and more lucid. So don't think he's human anymore, under his heavy armor, for he died years ago. Juan's second crusade was a failure, so Ron named it the Foul Crusade. Years ago, Ron learned about red dragon magic from his father, who had to trap Ron back in the chasm to tell him it. This gave Ron so much power, and with its draconic power, he made crusade dragons, malformed dragons twisted to become dark beings, whilst other dragons are more light kind beings. Depends on the dragons. A race of worshippers grew from the great power of Ran. These people were called chasmic beings, or the ones who live in chasmic void. They asked for Ran's chasmic power in order to protect their old chasmic lord. In return, Ran takes their humanity and sanity. But years of corruption will overhaul a once peaceful kingdom separated from its lower part. Literally squelching my orchids right now. Let's. Let me actually read the rest later. How much more do I have? 1, 2, 3. Oh, assume it's done. The corruption to Minlo's highland. Havoc is breaking into our king's land. The red substance is approaching slowly, and more are running away, and some corrupted. If we don't stop this, I'm afraid Minlo will fall. This was the last note Sir Q-Tip Higgin sent to the lower part of Minlo, where his wife resides. This note is the last thing to ever reach Minlo from the higher-ups. The corruption of the chasm consumed Highland, turning its... What? Highland? Oh, Minlo's Highland. Consumed Highland, turning its civilians into crusades and beasts. Though some have escaped Ron's grasp and fear telling of the corruption to those who are closest to Ron's silent brother, hidden in the land of awakenings, 4 lands that surround the portal. Those are the Grand Kingdom Elderbridge, Elderbridge. We know Elbridge. Elderbridge. I'll correct that later on. Of the judge order, and the reason for judges of coffins that hold many unjudged suspects who each share a prophecy. Astrologist school Rego, land of land of spells, and the reason for the magic in the world. True Isagradius, land of smeltering and frozen dragons, and the capital of the dragon cult and the kings of King Kingdom, Godland. The royal and citizens of Menlo Highland went to Elderbridge to seek help. The Elderbridge five judges asked what's their proposal, in which they answered to protect the four mainlands from intruders if they can find safety for them. Elbridges accepted this offer and made a new kingdom by and in the bridge to the mainland, which is the entrance from Rose and Ratiste, Ralan, to the four mainlands. This marked a new start to the Minlorian race, but the past knights and Minlorian warriors are still fighting for the crumbled kingdom, ruled by a false mold of their king. Both of the god soul locals, which are basically like challengers of one, but more dedicated. Oh, I've done this. Eastern, so that's like, after news went out about hello, I gotta move real quick. To a more making me feel a safer place. Okay. Back to the story. Both of the gods are locals. After news went out about Ron's takeover of Minlorian's Highland, a group was made to fight Ron and other potentially harmful deities, called gods soul locals, which are derived from the race that lives in God's land, and is led and made by one of the sons of the kings of kings, Leon, the eldest brother and grandfather of the current leader, Scorpion, whose father is Leo. Their goal is to rid of the deities, especially Ron, who they never killed. They did kill 47 gods, so they say, in the god slayer Cliffus, known mostly as their hideout on the side of the fallen fifth mainland. Oh, that's what I said it was. The god soul locals have still been challenging Ron and failing, losing more and more of their members, and some even foolishly challenged Ron's brother, the greater deity, and died. But one day a god soul local will damage and survive Ron the most. His name was Dracos Orsiphus, Ollie, the golden spear, who pierced his golden spear into Ron's chest, dealing massive damage. But Dracos couldn't kill Ron, and was of course killed. But then Ron decided to turn the corpse of the fighter into a loyal crusader dragon. This warrior is known in the god soul locals as a brave champion, but that didn't up the chances of any god soul locals doing anything. Disappearance of the deities. One day, most of the deities vanished into difficult to get locations and left spirits behind to make the people think they're still there. But only someone with a certain artifact can see the god's true locations. That is God's Eye Loriath, the first Lord of Elderbridge, who is one of the most trusted human that was given a artifact. The others are God's shield dwelling you, protector of the deities, God's crown, God's king, eternal Lord of God's land, and key to the deity in God realm. In God played Uino, the renowned half deity, one above all humans, offspring of Rego. These artifacts that these folk have were given by them by the gods, an eye to see reality, a shield to protect the deep secrets, a crown to open the world between gods, deities, and humans, and a sword to pierce the betrayer deities. Most deities were gone except one who was eternally trapped in his void chasm. So Ron, eternally trapped in his fleshware chasm, waits for someone to finally free him from his imprisonment. For when the time comes, brothers shall fall, or send a world of new Adrax into chasmous ruins, and follow Adraxi, and Brother Reen shall fall to 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 the blade of the true judge, and help Ron to the throne. By Vatis, mother of the moon, fourth daughter, moon magic deitist, follower of Ron and prophet of Ron's ascendant. The end.